The best thing about holiday meals is, you guessed it, dessert. Are you cooking? Let's talk about it. Welcome to Are You Cooking on Reach Up TV. This is my favorite time of year. So my favorite Thanksgiving and fall desserts are kid-pleasing, adults love them, and they are very easy. So today, we're going to make 3 easy desserts. The first one we're going to start with is an apple slab pie. That just means it's not in a traditional pie dish, so you don't need to have one. You can do it on a baking pan. Very easy, and you can make it any servings you want, whether it be 5 servings or you can do a whole pie for a larger table. All right, so the ingredients we're going to use today is going to be Pillsbury pie crust in the refrigerated section, or an off-brand, that's fine too. Sugar, an egg with a little bit of water in it, and apple pie filling. Easy enough, right? All right, so let's get this started. So what I've done first is I'm going to do a half pie. So I've chosen a smaller pan and cut some parchment paper to fit inside. So if this is parchment paper, this is a Food Lion brand. We do not cook on wax paper, so if you have that, please do not alternate it for the parchment paper. It will melt. So parchment paper is found by the foil and the Ziploc bags. Cut a piece to fit your pan, or if you don't want to use parchment paper, go ahead and just spray your pan down. That will work as well. So we've taken out the pie crust probably 15-20 minutes ago to get them a little bit soft. And we're just going to use one today. The package does come with 2 pie crusts rolled up. And I've already cut it open, so we're going to get that out. There we go. All right. I'm going to put my pan aside for right now. And we're going to unroll the pie crust. And if you've put it out about 15 minutes prior, it should unroll fairly easy. If it doesn't, put it back in the refrigerator. If it's too soft, keep it out a little bit longer if it's too hard. All right. So the 2 options to make this simple apple pie is going to be, one, if you want a large apple slab pie, then go ahead and put all of the apple pie filling right onto the entire round pie dough. And we're going to cover that with the second crust. If you want to do what we're doing tonight, and I'm making a half apple slab pie, you only need the bottom crust. We're actually going to use that other one to make cinnamon roll cookies. So you can actually just buy 1 box and get 2 desserts out of it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to take my fork and mark the center of the pie crust, just to give me a gauge. Now, if you love doing homemade desserts, certainly you can use some Granny Smith apples and some Gala apples together and slice them and do this with fresh apples. But I love to save time, so I'm going to use the canned apples. So we're going to take our spoon, and you're going to put the apples right underneath your halfway mark line. So just empty out probably a half of the can will do it. And what I would ask is that you leave an edge. Leave about that much around the edge so we can seal it. Now, if you want to be creative, you can add nuts to this, like pecans to it. I know a lot of people like an apple almond pie. Okay. Or you can add cinnamon and sugar. And I think I'll add one more. I'll try to get as much in here as we can. So I've added the apples to only the bottom half. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it toward me on that line and line it up evenly with the other side of the crust. So I'll show you that. So I've lined it up. And then we're going to take our fork and we're going to seal the edges. And what we're going to do is I'm holding the fork with my finger right on the bottom of the tines, and I'm just going to press down and lift. Don't pull this out, it'll rip your dough, but if you just press it in, and we're going to go all the way around the pie crust. Now you can use all different types of creative techniques for the edge of your pies. I've seen people use spoons. I've seen people use the back of the fork. You can use a straw to put holes in it. Really you can go on Google and search out pie crust edges and you'll get some really neat ideas. So we're just gonna lift this off of the cutting board. All right, so if you can see, we have some fluted edges, so to speak. Now we're gonna add our egg wash. You can add the egg wash with a basting brush, or if you don't have one of these, you can actually just use a paper towel. And I prefer that. I do find that a lot of the basting brushes come apart. They can harbor bacteria. They're hard to clean. So if you are going to use a basting brush a lot, I would invest in a better quality one. So with a paper towel, we're just going to dip it in the egg wash. And the egg wash is just 1 egg with a teaspoon of water that you just stir up. And we're gonna dip the paper towel in there and we're going to just coat the entire outside of this apple pie. Make sure you get inside the grooves of your fork marks down there. All right, and that is complete. Now, last step is we're going to put air pockets in the apple pie so it can breathe, so it can bubble through, and it looks pretty. Now, I've made several apple pies where if you have a cookie cutter, you can actually, before you fold that top half on the apple pie, you can cut out the different shapes with your cookie cutter and then fold it over. Really pretty. You can get really creative with pies, and I love that. So now we have this ready to go. We're going to drizzle it just a little bit, sprinkle it with some sugar because I like things a little bit sweet. So this is just white sugar, but you can put cinnamon and sugar on it if you want to. We're gonna take the pan that we put the parchment paper in, and I'm going to gently pick this up, and we're gonna put it in a 425 oven for about, we're gonna try 15 minutes, should be a good time. But what I would watch for is every oven is different. So as it gets golden brown and bubbly, it is time to take it out. All right, so here we are back with the finished product. So here is our apple slab pie. Gonna slide it out of our pan, and then I'm going to slide it off of our parchment paper. Do not reuse these. They do need to be discarded afterwards. You can see the paper, it doesn't burn, but if you do use it a second time, it will start to burn and your oven will start to smell. So we have an apple slab pie. And we're gonna cut it up into, I like to cut it up into triangles. And so I'll cut the first piece into a triangle, and then we can just go from corner to corner, slicing it up, and then we'll plate it. And you will have a very easy apple pie that is easy to handle. So let's see, we have a little dish right here. I'm gonna plate that. Look at that. I love apple pie. Now make sure you get your whipped cream for this or your ice cream, but your guests can easily get at this. Now, we did have something that we would say in our bakery that if you never did cut that, it's only 1 serving. So if nobody's looking, you don't have to share. All right, so there you go, our apple slab pie. One last thing that maybe you want to add to give it a little bit of a dressing is to put some confectioner sugar over the top. All right, so there you go, our apple slab pie. We're gonna make cinnamon roll cookies with the other Pillsbury pie crust roll. We took it out of the package, and again, let's see if we've left it out long enough that it doesn't stick together. Oh, it's perfect. Okay, you're gonna unroll this all the way. Try to stretch it out, not too far. You don't want it too thin. We are going to make a mixture of cinnamon and sugar to go on top of these. So what I've done is taken a small bowl and put maybe a half a cup of granulated sugar in this bowl, and then I'm going to take some cinnamon. Does not matter what brand you use. you're probably going to start with 2 tablespoons, depending on how much you like cinnamon. So the 2 tablespoons, we're just gonna mix this in. In order to get a decent flavor of cinnamon, the mixture does have to be not a dark brown, but a nice medium brown color, so like that. And what we're gonna do is we're going to scoop the cinnamon and sugar right into the center. Maybe this is a tablespoon, so that's a good measure, about 3 tablespoons. And you're just going to rub it into the pie crust. We want this pie crust to taste like cinnamon. There will be absolutely no mistake that this tastes like a cinnamon roll. And go ahead and just rub it into all the edges. And then just try to even out all the sugar on top of the pie crust and keep it on there. All right, the hardest part of this recipe is just going to be to roll it. You're gonna take the center of this dough, the very center, and you're gonna tuck it under so it doesn't come unraveled. And then once you push it forward, roll it forward, you wanna roll it from the edges and try to keep it nice and tight. And just keep going out to the edges with your fingers. Because if you roll it from the edges, it stays tight. If you roll it from the center, it will fall apart. So once it's all rolled up, you'll bring it back to the center of your board. We're gonna get these things out of the way. And you're gonna need a knife. You can use a butter knife if that's what you have. Whatever the sharpest knife in your kitchen will work just fine. I'm gonna bring. All right, so we start from the edge. Try not to squeeze your dough. And what we're gonna do is, if you notice, the cinnamon and sugar are rolled up in here, and it's all, we're gonna cut the ends so it looks like a cinnamon roll. You want your seam on the bottom so it doesn't come unraveled. And the end piece won't be perfect, but still edible. And you want to do this in a sawing motion because you don't want the dough to get squished. So I'm gonna get it started, and then they'll be easier. So very gently I'm holding on to this, and there we go. Now, when you cut them, they look like little cinnamon rolls. And if you notice the size of this, I haven't made it too thick. If you make them too thick, and if it comes unraveled, you can just put it back together. If you make them too thick, they tend to be raw in the center. So about 1/2 inch is a perfect size. All right, again, we're just gonna saw these out. And these are really wonderful. We're gonna dress them at the end with confectioner's sugar and water to make this really nice, sweet cinnamon roll glaze. And that glaze can be used for a lot of other desserts and cinnamon rolls at home or over toast. Okay, so we're gonna just keep cutting this up. Now, I have seen a really interesting thing to do with these cinnamon roll cookies. So if you're creative, and I know that Christmas is coming, if you take these cinnamon roll cookies, you can actually make a Christmas tree out of it by just putting them in a row, and keep making the Christmas tree, but make sure you do it on your parchment paper, and you can have it actually into a design. So again, it's your kitchen. Like I said in the last episode, you can do what you want to do. All right, now when I cut these, they're a little bit oval shaped, so I just use my fingers to make them round. They do not have to be perfect by any means. If you use the entire pie crust package, you'll need a bigger pan than this. I only used 1 crust to make cookies and 1 crust to make the pie. So if you use both, you're gonna need to double it up. This is gonna cook at 425 also, probably for about 10 to 12 minutes. You want these to be golden brown on top, but not burned. And if you have scrap pieces, that's okay. You can just throw them in there and they're ready to go. A good version for this is if you do like chopped pecans, you can actually sprinkle the pecans on the dough before rolling it up. Again, you can add all different things to it and make it whatever configuration. So we're gonna go ahead and put these in the oven and we'll be right back. Our cinnamon roll cookies have come out of the oven and here they are, these little spiral cookies with pie dough and cinnamon and sugar and some glaze and powdered sugar on it. I'm gonna show you how to make the glaze. When they came out of the oven and they were still warm, I made up a simple glaze with confectioner's sugar and just a tablespoon of water. So 3/4 of a cup of confectioner's sugar and then 1 tablespoon of water. Now, that does not look like it's enough, but I can tell you confectioner's sugar will definitely fool you. 1 tablespoon of water will mix this up quite well. So you always want, whenever you're making any kind of frosting with confectioner's sugar, mix it up prior to adding more. So we have a thick glaze right now, and I'm gonna add a little bit more water, just a drop, just to get it so it's pourable. So you want it so it drips like that, just a nice continuous stream like glue. And you can go ahead and glaze your cinnamon roll cookies and let that dry. You can put confectioner's sugar on it. If you don't have a sugar shaker like this, a different way to do it is by using this sieve right here. Take a little bit of confectioner's sugar, put it over the top, and just shake it over your food. This is a great way to dress up your pancakes, just about any dessert. All right, and so there are our cinnamon roll cookies, and when that dries, we are going to have a good time eating these. So the holiday is not complete without something that's pumpkin. Pumpkin is everywhere. It belongs to part of the holiday. I love pumpkin coffee, pumpkin pie, pumpkin cookies. We're gonna make a pumpkin dip, and it is very easy and it is very good. We're going to use 1 can of pumpkin pie filling. You'll notice this is the large can, but we're only gonna use half. I do tend to buy the larger can in case I want to make some more the next day or for the same party or to use it for something else. If you accidentally buy pure pumpkin, you can add cinnamon, sugar, nutmeg, ginger. So it can be reclaimed and it's not all lost where you have to run to the grocery store real quickly. So we're going to use pumpkin pie filling and just use half that can. We're going to use a container of Cool Whip. This is original whipped topping. And then we're going to use 1 package of instant pudding. And I just want to show you it's really easy to make the mistake and grab the wrong pudding box. Have done this, that's how I know. The instant pudding box actually says instant in the bottom corner, and then the other says cook and serve. The cook and serve will not work for this recipe, so I'm going to put this very far away from us so it doesn't go in the recipe. All right, so you can use for this recipe a half a can of the pumpkin pie filling, and we're going to use 1 box of the instant pudding. The recipe says vanilla, but I like pumpkin cheesecake, so I bought cheesecake instant pudding. And so we're going to put in half the can of the pumpkin pie filling. And you can just do it by eye. There you go. The tendency is to put the whole thing in there, but I would suggest you not do that. And then we're going to put the entire bag of instant pudding in there. Easy so far. And then mix it up. And you want to mix it well. You don't have to mix it like you do pudding, like for 2 minutes. You just need to get it incorporated, which just means there's no pudding powder left and there's no lumps. So give it a good stir to get those little balls of pudding out of there. All right, and once that's done, in our food safety video that we had done 2 episodes ago, or a few episodes ago, we did talk about not transferring food to another food. And so I'm not going to use this spoon that's in the pumpkin to get the Cool Whip. I'm going to use a new spoon. And so we're going to use about 3/4 of this. Now, if you're thinking about using the can of Cool Whip, that will not work. It will just dissolve and turn to water. So once we have the Cool Whip in there, you're gonna grab your bowl from underneath and kind of grasp it, and you're just going to fold it in. And folding is just wrapping it around itself, dig down to the bottom, try not to mix it too hard. We're just gonna fold it up and down and left and right. And you don't have to get it all. It's not gonna stay in this container, so if you can't get all of the Cool Whip off the top edges, it's fine. All right, and then it's all incorporated there. Now, believe it or not, that's the recipe. So what do you do with it? It's not really attractive in here. It definitely works. Very tempting to eat the whole bowl and take it onto yourself, and don't let anybody know you had any dip. But we're going to give you a couple of ideas. One is, I found this little compartment container in the dollar store. And so if you're in the party store or the dollar store, they have these really unique containers over by the birthday party and the wedding aisles. So with this, I'm just gonna scoop the pumpkin dip right in the middle, and we're going to serve the pumpkin dip with cookies. You can put apples in there, you can put cookies in there. I actually I love kid-friendly things, and so I bought some animal crackers, so I'm gonna pour some animal crackers in this side. You can even go ahead and stick the animal cracker in there. And then on the other side, you can go ahead and put like shortbread cookies, graham crackers, gingerbread cookies. Something with cinnamon would be really great with that. And so that would make a nice party centerpiece, part of your food display. Another thing that you can do, which I find really fun, so for you decorators out there, if you go to Walmart or the Dollar Tree or Dollar General, they do tend to have decorating bags. And so I'm going to show you something really fun. This is a single decorating bag. You can also use a Ziploc bag. Use a large gallon one, they're stronger, and go to the corner, and you're going to cut the corner off. Make sure you throw this away because it will end up in your food, trust me. You're gonna stick your hand inside the bag to open it up, and for about $1 in Walmart or the Dollar Tree, you can find this little star tip, and you're gonna drop that in, and then that way the bag does not cover any part of the stars. You just cut it far enough. And how do you fill it? You're gonna open it over your hand, just like that. You're just gonna cover your hand with it, and then we're gonna scoop this pumpkin dip right into it. All right, I'm gonna pull that up, keep it over your bowl and get the air out, and then watch this. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna twist this very lightly so it doesn't end up all the way up your arm. Been there, done that. And you're gonna center it over your cookie and just push and just make a circle. And you have little pumpkin dip cookies, pumpkin shortbread cookies. Now something neat also to do is this isn't really pretty scooped in here, so I can just cover the top with circles. You're just going to press with this hand and use your other hand to make a circle. And then fill that in and give it a little bit of a dressing. And there's the top of your pumpkin dip. So we have made 3 desserts today. We have 1 apple slab pie. We have cinnamon roll cookies, and we have pumpkin shortbread cookies and pumpkin dip with animal crackers. I hope that this will help your holiday table look a little bit brighter. I'm so glad that you joined us today. Are you cooking? Let's do this thing.